Hello, Contrarians, listeners and watchers, and anybody that just stops by and checks this video out. This video being our special preview for our Labor Day episode. Not an episode that's being released on Labor Day, but an episode about the movie Labor Day. The Kate Winslet, Josh Brolin romance
We try to figure that out
slash
in the whole
crime
episode, and we're
drama.
never really able to figure it out.
Yeah, it's from Jason Reitman, the man behind such beloved movies as Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Up in the Air, even Young Adult. None of those will prepare you for what Labor Day is, and we'll
Not sure.
discuss all of it.
Not sure what could prepare you for what this movie is.
What could prepare you? Like if you're a close friend of Jason Reitman's and you know what he's into, like the things that he reads in between takes when he's waiting for the director of photography to set up the shot. He has
If you
like
read a bunch of supermarket romance novels, maybe you'd be a bit prepared.
I used to work at Barnes& Noble. I knew all those authors because they were like, the romance section. Now I can just think of Nicholas Sparks, but that will come in these quotes later.
If you read a bunch of books from the 90s that had Fabio on the cover.
There you go. Exactly. So you know who you are. This movie is made for you. You probably already have seen this movie. But if you haven't seen it, well, listen to the podcast. We'll walk you through it. If you've seen it, you can listen to the podcast anyway. But first, this is to prepare you for that. So I have some Rotten Tomatoes quotes. These are rotten because this movie is rotten. And then Alex is going to give us some trivia. And in between, we're going to place Josh Gad in Labor Day. There's a few options. We're going to start these rotten quotes with Mark Ellis from Schmoes No. And he says, loving shots of food baking make me think that Reitman could direct a cooking show and make it interesting. And if material keeps coming along like what he wrote in Labor Day, that's not a bad alternative. So would you watch a cooking show directed by Jason Reitman?
No.
Hosted by Josh Brolin. Just it's all about pies.
I don't know. Jason Reitman directing Gordon Ramsay might be fascinating.
I don't think Gordon Ramsay would put up with that shit.
No.
Next.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's a lot of recipes of Gordo's that I've used and a lot of shit he's watched. I'm trying to think if I've ever watched him make a pie. I don't know.
He doesn't make pies, at least not that I've seen, but he has, his guest chefs that come over to like show somebody a special aspect of cooking, and he has the bakers that come in every now and then.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, Jason Reitman doesn't belong in that world if Labor Day has anything to say about it. Next, Ethan Alter from Television Without Pity says, I would like to think that one day Reitman will be able to look back at this film and laugh at his mistakes and miscalculations. For now, we'll just have to do the laughing for him. We did laugh. We laughed while we were talking about it. Did you laugh while you were watching the movie?
No. Well, that's not true. I did, but I'm not sure it was the intended response that the movie was trying to elicit from me.
Yeah, unintentional laughter. It's better than no laughter. That was a bonus quote because I actually hadn't picked that one. It just it just made its way there. Official quote number 2. Travis Hobson from Examiner.com, who says it treads on the same treacly territory as the worst of Nicholas Sparks and features a stunning lack of urgency that leaves the film as dull as it is preposterous. Nicholas Sparks, Alex, you and I, we worked in movie theaters for several years. We handled our fair share of Nicholas Sparks adaptations. Do you have a favorite?
No. I guess The Notebook, just because that came out when I was in high school and the girl I was dating at the time when I went to see it. And that was, I believe, my introduction to Ryan Gosling.
Rachel McAdams? No,
yes,
Mean Girls, right?
I think this came out before that. I don't know. They're both before, but James Marsden also. That was kind of
that's really what counts.
Well, he was Cyclops. That was like the thing that I was like, what the fuck is Cyclops? What's he doing?
Yeah. I it's not that I watched it, but I remember the movie Nights at Rodanthe. Does that sound familiar? Richard Gere and Diane Lane, I think.
Yes.
They're like on a beach. Like I just remember seeing the trailer over and over, and then the movie came out and people coming out of the movie crying. I was like, that's a Nicholas Sparks movie. That's just, emotional grown women.
God. Looking at the Google page right now, what was whatever movie we did recently where we got on the subject of posters, and like all of the Nicholas Sparks movie posters, like literally are either the gimmick of like the profile where the guy's holding the girl's face and about to kiss her,
Yeah.
or the guy hugging behind the girl. That's like what they all are. And hey, man, his movies have made a shit ton of money, so God bless him.
Don't mess with the formula if it's working.
That being said, again, I'm not terribly versed in the world of Senior Sparks, but this movie has a little bit more violence than what I've come to expect from him.
I don't know, listeners. Anybody that's more versed in the Sparks universe than we are, how violent does it get? Does it ever get as violent as Labor Day does? Because Josh Brolin is a tough dude. Next, Matt Prigi from Metro says Winslet hasn't been this ill-used since Alan Parker's Death Penalty, Howler, The Life of David Gale, or maybe even A Kid in King Arthur's Court. Have you seen either of those movies?
I remember A Kid in King Arthur's Court, but no. I thought that dude was just going to commit to it and be like, Kate Winslet hasn't been this misused since Titanic or something like incredibly brazen.
No, I've seen The Life of David Gale. It stars Christopher Plummer as a teacher that is going to he gets put on trial. He's convicted of rape, I think, and gets a death penalty. Kate Winslet is the reporter that is trying to prove his innocence, and it flashes back and forth between the present when he's in prison and the past, which shows you how he came to be, I guess, in prison. That you never know if he was guilty or not until the very end.
Okay, I remember either seeing the trailer for that or like the ending on like a premium channel or something. Is that the same story as Dead Man Walking? Just the genders are swapped?
Well, no, because Dead Man Walking is a good movie. No, because Dead Man Walking, you know that Sean Penn is guilty.
That's right. She's not trying to prove his innocence. She just comes to like,
I guess, help him accept his guilt.
Yeah.
But no, in this one, it's a big, kind of like a mystery. The most notable thing is that Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars.
Oh,
he was repulsed by the movie. Just a little bit of trivia there. Labor Day. I mean, I think it fared a little better with critics, but not a whole lot.
Doesn't look on the website. Doesn't look like he wrote the review for it, but it looks like RogerEbert.com via Christy Lemire, excuse me, gave it 1.5 stars.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah,
and we're gonna close.
I'm sure Roger wouldn't have disagreed.
I mean, he endorsed all those. His name is there. Alex, we're going to close with something that is not a critic's quote. Instead, it's a fragment of an IndieWire interview with Jason Reitman. The reporter is Nigel M. Smith. This is from February 5th, 2014. So getting ready for that Valentine's Day weekend. The title of the article is Jason Reitman addresses his Labor Day critics and explains why he made the film. I'm not going to bore you with the entire thing. Just this one moment where Nigel asks, he says, some critics couldn't accept that Kate's character would willingly let this convict into her home. She doesn't put up a fight. What's her reason in your mind? And Reitman responds, I don't have a reason. and then Nigel says, no? And Reitman responds, and I think that's why I liked it. All right. The Reitman works in mysterious ways. I mean, if he doesn't even know...
That's so like Lynchian. Was it Lynch that was like, oh, fuck, I can't... He was like on some talk show and they're like, you once said this about your movie. Can you explain that? And he's like, no. Like that's...
Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
Mm-hmm. Elaborate on that.
No, I won't.
I respect that. I respect that a whole lot more than him. Like, yeah, I don't want to call anybody out, but you know, as opposed to like going on Twitter and like viciously defending this bad movie that he made. I appreciate that more.
Yeah. And it's just like, if he can't explain, if he doesn't have an explanation for what happens in the movie, that kind of gets you off the hook. You don't have to worry about it either. You just go with the flow. The entire time you can say, Reitman didn't know what was going on either. It's all good. So those are our quotes. Alex, before we go into trivia, where would you put Josh Gad in this movie? There's a couple minor roles that he could maybe excel at.
He could just be the son, and it's not at all explained why the son's so old.
IndieWire is like, Mr. Reitman, why would you cast Josh Gad as a 9-year-old kid? I don't know.
I don't owe you an explanation. Okay, you could have him be the future Henry, like the guy who's narrating the movie.
Oh,
You could have him be that. But I'd have to go with he's the neighbor. He's Mr. Jervis. He takes J.K. Simmons, gets out of his blood oath with Jason Reitman, and Josh Gad brings over a bushel of peaches.
I think that what happens then is because J.K. Simmons can't get off the blood oath so easily, so instead you just displace Simmons to a different character, and Simmons plays a cop. Do you buy Simmons as a cop?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the town, the way they paint it. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we solved the mystery very quickly. Alex, shoot us some trivia.
Labor Day, which traditionally takes place in September here in America, was released in January of 13 or 14? Yeah, it premiered at the Telluride Film Festival in the summer of 2013 and then was released on January 31st of 2014. A budget of $18 million with a box office return of a little bit over 20. Directed and adapted screenplay written by Jason Reitman, Kate Winslet, Josh Brolin. What do we decide? Gatlin Griffith is the boy's name, Henry Wheeler. But also he's played by Dylan Miniot and Tobey Maguire eventually, so he gets the trifecta of whiteness in this one. In the way of trivia, this is kind of inconsequential movie, so there wasn't anything too fascinating, but I did read, because of the pivotal scene in it, Paramount partnered with the American Pie Council in promotion of the film. So that ad that I sent you was legitimate. I found on Google, I think it was from Reddit, it was looked like a magazine ad, or maybe it was in Parade or something like that. It was an ad of the three of them making the peach pie together, and it was presented by the National Pie Council or the American Pie Council. Just completely misleading that these people are being held hostage by this escaped convict who's wanted for murder. That's one of those things that, like, I will never forget because of this podcast, and something that I'll bring up like reoccurringly. Like, well, they should have partnered with the American Pie Council. Would have helped them out.
How desperate do you have to be for publicity? You just latch on to this January release that has very little to do with pie making, even though that's the centerpiece.
I want to believe like pie was really down in the Thanksgiving and Christmas season in 2013, and they're like, we got to get the hot youngsters out there, man. Who? Josh Brolin and Kate Winslet. That's who speaks to the youth of America. Pie is going to be back in a big way in 2014. As a mother herself, Kate Winslet found it incredibly difficult shooting the miscarriage and stillbirth scenes at the film's premiere, as she was heavily pregnant. Winslet chose not to watch the movie because it would have been far too devastating for her to see. That makes sense.
Yes, also would have been devastating to see the movie and just see that it was terrible.
The disaster artist, is that Dave Franco at the end, who like throughout the course of it just keeps sinking like lower and lower into his seat. These always make me laugh on IMDb. Reunites Tobey Maguire and J.K. Simmons, who previously appeared in Spider-Man together. It's like they're not even, they don't do shit in the movie together. Come on. Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin agreed to do the movie, but Jason Reitman and Brolin had to wait for Winslet for over a year to begin shooting. You think there's any chance that like it was a thing of the elevator pitch for this movie, and then over the course of the year, the story started getting fleshed out, and by the time they got there, Brolin and Winslet were like, well, fuck, but we already signed on to do this, so we can't do anything about it now. Because we talk about this in the episode, like,
why?
We can't figure out how they would have read this entire script and thought like, yeah.
No, I think this was just a Jason Reitman effect. He had 4 movies under his belt, none of which would indicate that this was going to be his next movie. So they're like, hey, do you want to be in the next Jason Reitman movie? Sure. Fuck.
I mean, yeah, going into this, he was an it property, an it guy. Jason Reitman prepared his cast and crew by screening these films he considered relevant to the project. They included Stand By Me, Running on Empty, The Tree of Life, The Night of the Hunter, and Body Heat.
Dude, you did mention that those flashbacks look a little Malick.
Yeah, Malick-esque.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe I was onto something there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that clairvoyant. Anyone who's seen The Tree of Life and watched this and be like, he stole that shit. What's going on?
I don't see the Stand By Me parallels. I mean, there's
All that like you could potentially draw to is like it's a similar time frame and boys will be boys type thing.
yeah.
From the start, Jason Reitman wanted to cast Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin in the lead roles. Again, this isn't Pulp Fiction. Like, I can't see him writing the screenplay, and I guess I can, because that was maybe his thing of like why the screenplay wasn't that good, because he's just like, they're both great, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was the second time Kate Winslet has played a character with the surname Wheeler after April Wheeler in Revolutionary Road.
Oh,
In both films, her love interest is named Frank. And if we want to get morbid, in both films, there's also some issues with childbirth.
that's where the similarities end, especially when it
Yes.
comes to quality.
I was about to steal your line. The biggest difference being Revolutionary Road was a good movie.
Yeah.
At least to Julio and I. That's like, we've had to go to battle for that one on many an occasion. Again, I use the word inconsequential, but it's one of those, if you've seen it,
It stays with you.
yeah, I imagine it's going to stick with you for a while. When you think about it, it's like Josh Brolin at the end when he hears the sirens coming in. You just go like quiet, like slowly.
Are you going to next time you're on a hot date and things are getting intimate? Are you gonna use the line, "Help me put a roof over this house"?
Oh my God, I forgot about that already. Help me put a roof on this. The glistening hands with all the peach juice and whatnot on them. This is, if you haven't seen this and you haven't listened to our episode yet, this is an insane film. This is like, there's that show, How Did This Get Made? And me posing that question kind of goes beyond the bounds of like what that show like tries to prove. Like, I mean it quite literally. Like, it got everything against it. The January release date, the lack of promotion or what have you, or like the promotion that was only aimed at like a specific audience. The poster for it is the Nicholas Sparks special. It's fucking Brolin behind like Kate Winslet giving her the intimate hug. But you watch this and you're like, Paramount Pictures is a respected like film distribution company. How do they watch this? And because it didn't even make money, because that's Paramount. Now I'm on a complete tangent, but Paramount was famous for their like greatest shame was the Friday the 13th series, because they released the first 8 of them, but all of those movies were cheap as fuck to make and made them a shit ton of money. So it's not like they've always been proud of everything they've released, but I guess that you can listen to the episode as Julio and I struggle to kind of find answers, but I guess it's you got an A-list cast and a director who at that point in time especially was on a bit of a hot streak. A fascinating piece of business, and something that Julio and I go into. I think we leave with more questions than we came in with, but it's
yes,
it was.
but we leave better men, because we went through this journey together. Also, I think that's fair to call out that by the time that the episode drops, maybe by the time this video drops, I mean, we'll be pretty close to Valentine's Day ourselves. So, what better way to celebrate with with a loved one than by watching Labor Day and then listen to us discuss Labor Day?
Watch the movie and then pop in your earbuds and walk to the 7-Eleven or Shell and get yourself a Hostess peach pie or something, and
Yes.
let it take you into the night.
So that's Labor Day. Check out the episode. Coming up next, we're closing our little Mount Rushmore arc with Goodfellas, the Robert De Niro chapter of this extravaganza. So do we even need to tell you to watch Goodfellas? You probably have already seen it. If you haven't, you must be really young, in which case, enjoy. And
it's one of those that like anyone that's like our age, like I don't know even by accident how you could have gone this long in life and not have seen it, or the majority of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know Robert De Niro mostly from comedies, this is going to blow your mind. But anyway, check out the current episode. And most of all, thank you for checking out our channel and the podcast. And we'll talk to you again soon.